Okay, we're looking at another organization called Aravind. It's also one of those organizations that in the space of social entrepreneurship gets a lot of credit. It's seen as a model and has been replicated in other ways. And we're going to try to understand how so. And maybe this is something that your organization could also learn from and innovate around. So let's just look at Aravind. What's the point of this organization?
So the point of this organization is to eradicate needless blindness, and more particularly in terms of cataracts. So they wanted to eradicate that, and I believe this was in India is where they began.
Yeah, they wanted to help the people. So their biggest thing was let's help these people. We're not really focused on charging them or things of that sort. We want to kind of just help them. And from there, things will come around as far as growing the institution, right?
Let's unpack that a little bit, because is it just a charity? Because are they just concerned about giving free eye care?
No, they obviously, in order for them to stay afloat, in order for them to keep, they have to make some sort of money. So they're able to in order for them to kind of feed this population to give free healthcare, they obviously had to balance that out by charging. So they did also have they served a paying population as well, where they charged a little higher in order for them to kind of sustain the population that they was given free, that was unable to pay, that was given free service. So it was kind of like a cycle. They're able to use the profits from the paying population and kind of serve the non-paying population. So
so it's a sliding scale, and we call that model of payment. So those that can pay more, pay more. Those that pay less can pay less, they pay less, right? Overarchingly though, the point is this organization needs to be afloat and run and make money, right? For that purpose of eradicating unnecessary blindness. Okay, again, profitability is a means to that higher end. So it's not that you, in a traditional model, sort of say charitably, no, we are not caring about profit. No, they care a lot about profit, but not as the ultimate goal, but as a means to sort of eradicate unnecessary blindness. Okay. Anything else in terms of the model that struck you as interesting that we may be able to learn from?
So I think the fact that that their mission or that their view wasn't only on profits, that was the fact that, I guess I'm just all into the background. In the beginning, they mentioned that the cataracts original lens was about $100 per lens, but they were able to build a lab and make the lens for $10. So again, that change in mindset is you do have all of the resources that you need to eradicate needless blindness, but the mindset that you have changes the path that you take. So I thought that was very innovative.
So they created a new lens, right? And they did so because they felt that, this was too expensive for the population. So it's a constraint, right? It's a real constraint. And oftentimes, as we say, the necessity is the mother of invention. So they created something different, right? Not that any of these people were engineers to begin with. And yet they were able to work with those that could help them to reduce the price of that lens, right? And I think it's important to understand it's a process, as you were saying, a process of co-creation. It's not something that you think out and analyze and plan clearly. No. It's engaging with reality, with the problems, that you understand them better, and then you sort of go back to the drawing board and you innovate and create new approaches, right? Okay, so they were able to reduce the costs in terms of the material in that sense. What else were they able to do?
Another thing, as far as their business model is concerned, they, all training was in-house. And I think when you have a business that does that, you're able to build a culture where the employees or the staff members are able to produce top quality, because you can assure that a lot of times if you come in with a clean slate and you don't know anything and you're being taught something, you're going to continue that way. And if not, and then as you as this culture is being built, you're going to want to do better. So I think the quality as far as what they were giving out was, it was good because, everything was in-house. So everything is consistent as far as, what they're producing and things of that sort.
Okay, let's unpack that also further, because just having a training in-house, does that make sure that you have quality?
I mean, again, it starts with the person who created this institution first, right? So, if his biggest thing was to eradicate needless blindness, of course, you want that you want to find the people who are aligned with that same purpose, and give the same consistent quality that he originally had in mind. So if you're training these staff members in the same way, then I mean, a lot of the times the end result is going to be exactly what the leadership level is trying to create, wants for the organization.
I think what's important to understand also for you students is this is not just coming out of the blue sky, and just because you want to create quality that you will end up creating quality. You need to understand the mechanisms behind it, and I think it's very critical in this case and interesting to see how they were able to do this. So let's look at this. They were asking people to pay when they had more money to pay for the cataract surgery, right? And then they were giving the cataract surgery away for cost to some people, and then they were doing it for free for those that couldn't really afford it, right? Or for at least below cost. So what would that help with in terms of training, or what would that hurt with?
I hesitated because the hurt part is what I'm not able to answer right now. But I think that it benefits because the more you go through a process, I don't want to say the better you get at it, but the better you perform.
There's a learning curve.
Right, there is a learning curve. So being able to, having someone who's able to pay for someone who is unable to pay, again, you're able to just practice more, and you are training in-house, so you're able to instill those values, and I guess you're setting those controls and those limits. And you're also understanding each individual person as they come in and tailoring them to their mission, if that makes sense, to the organization's mission. So, and making sure that person instills
the doctor or the staff, or the
staff, the
employees.
employees.
Okay.
So yes, we're just making sure that the quality and that it's consistent all the way through.
And I think that's where volume is important. You have to get a lot of, it has, the higher the volume, the better the quality, essentially, is because they're getting more practice. They're able to kind of use the profits to kind of, produce more. I think they even went into expanding into like eye camps and other hub sites and things of that sort. The higher the volume, the better the quality, and the more people that they're able to reach, and they were able to kind of reach to expand further than they thought they would. So
I think, students, I want you to pay attention to this, because this may seem trivial, and it is not, because this is critical. Volume matters in this case specifically. The more you practice something, the better you get at it. One of the critical predictors in terms of high quality medical performances, at least, but you could probably say that for pretty much any other procedure, is the number of times you have performed this. So the best hospitals in general are the ones that are specialized in a procedure. That means the doctors in that hospital have performed this procedure a lot. So this is the number one indicator for high quality medical care, is how many times a doctor has performed this procedure before. Now, we have a lot of general hospitals, right? I think in the US even there's a TV series called General Hospital, right? It means that a doctor oftentimes is performing all kinds of things and needs to be performing all kinds of procedures. Now, in terms of learning curve, this is pretty bad, okay? Because if they get one lung disease and one eye disease or something, then it would sort of be difficult for them, because they would need to start to learn from scratch. Now, that's a little bit exaggerated. On the other hand, what they're doing here is quite the opposite. They say we're specializing on one cataract, okay? We're going to train our doctors by having them do this procedure over and over and over and over and over again. That means it doesn't really matter if people pay or not, because if we are producing quality doctors that can do this performance, it's actually better for us to have a lot of people come in. Okay, it's almost like it's good for the doctors to be training for free. Okay, and so if we can get more people to come in paying, that's even better. And what happens as a virtuous cycle almost is that because these doctors get better and better and better, everybody that is able to pay wants to get treated by the best doctors that are around for this procedure. So they come, and then you can command a higher price. Okay, so in that sense, this hospital became the best hospital for cataract. Okay, one of the best. And people from across India would want to come there and say, I want to get my eyes treated here, and I'm willing to pay a lot more than other places. Okay, and that would then allow them to sort of transfer and say, okay, well, here is a way that I can actually then give free care to many others that can't afford it, or lower cost care to others that can afford a little bit, because it still benefits the overarching goal of achieving like the best eye care possible and reducing unnecessary blindness, because that's the overarching goal. How do you reach scale, right? And then you're saying, yes, they were able to then do the same kind of thing for other procedures in terms of eye care. They were opening other camps, clinics, etc., and they could grow, right? And in the end, this is the beauty of, in some way, a market mechanism that you use that way. It's like, because if you have more profit, you can do more good. The more you grow, the more problems you can solve. And the typical charitable model oftentimes underestimates that, right? Just doing things for free is limited in its impact. So if you can use the market mechanism and say, okay, you're actually going to pay, then therefore we can actually spread more and have more impact. We can fan out across India. They have eye clinics in other places. There are other hospitals that use similar models, heart clinics that have emerged that are sort of inspired by this Aravind model, that focus on heart disease in a very specific way, and they become the best at that. And then people from across the globe will come to India to basically get heart care in that hospital, right? For a lot cheaper than they would, for example, in the US. And therefore then they can help a lot more people that typically don't have access to healthcare. So this is a very interesting look at a business model, right? How you can actually scale up the solutions, okay? And how you can get both quality and quantity, and how they sort of mix together. And that's innovative. That's an innovation not in product, not in service, but in the business model. How you deliver. It does impact the product in terms of the quality. It does impact the service and how you do it. And it's for a pretty cheap kind of hospital in a way, right? It wasn't like a fancy kind of building oftentimes. It was something that was aimed to really get at scale, and people would sort of accept it as such. Okay, so returning back to just your organization, think about what business models they're currently employing, how they can reach scale with solutions that actually do help solve a problem, okay? Such as getting rid of unnecessary blindness. It's a goal that you can actually potentially achieve, okay? So think about that. Look more into the case and see how they were able to do this, and see whether your organization that you have chosen can employ this one way or the other.